Gentlemen, I've just hit go live. We are live.
All right. Thanks everybody for joining us for another weekly AMA. Today I've asked our CTO, Nuke, and our Chief Security Officer, Shiran, to join us so we can answer a lot of your questions. Hopefully there's still time to submit. If you didn't find the time to submit a question, you can do it right now in the chat. And Tom will help us with making sure that we answer all of your concern. But the first half of this hour is going to be dedicated just to answer all of your security questions, how we do things, why we do things, why is it this way and not some other way. And the second half will go back and answer more general questions about everything else, as well as I'll give you a quick update about the markets and everything else going on. All right. So Nuke and Shiran, why don't you say hello, give people a little bit more background about yourself, and then Tom will hit us with the first question.
All right, I'll start. I think people kind of know me by now. I'm the CTO of Celsius. Started in Celsius from day one in August of 2017, and growing with this thing together. And Shiran is one of our latest force multipliers. So Shiran.
Hi there, thank you guys. Happy to be on this AMA. Shiran Kleiderman, based in Israel, 15 plus years in cybersecurity, started in the Israeli military. The foundation and basics are really in cryptography. From cryptography, I really got to know the crypto world. And throughout my career, dealt with other topics such as penetration testing. And for the past 5-6 years, more on the threat intelligence side. We're going to talk about how threat intelligence helps defend our clients from fraud and various external hackers and activities, the proactive approach. So that's me, based in Israel. Happy to be here.
Great. So all three of us served in the Israeli military. I served in the counterintelligence and communication corps and a few other units. So all of us, we complete this circle of security from one of the best places in the world, both on the offensive side as well as on the defensive side. So we don't just look at security as something that we have to do. Everything starts with security, right? Because as we always say, you know, our job number one is to always make sure that we can return the coins to our depositors. And job number two is to remember job number one. But none of that means anything unless you have security, right? If somebody can just hack and steal the coins, then how are you making these kind of promises? So, like I said, the first hour of this call is all about answering all your concerns about this. So hit us with the hardest questions you have. This is not a time to be nice and ask us softball questions, right? I mean, we're all pros here. So Tom, let's ask the first one.
So the first one is, how are my funds protected with Celsius? Just Shiran, just to let you know, you're coming through a little bit quiet. So if you could speak up, that'd be fantastic.
Sure thing. So I'll start with that question, and we'll talk about the security layers that we deploy here and that we utilize here. So let's see the physical world. When we want to guard a base or something like that, we have the fence, we have the barbed wire, we have the patrol guard, we have the lock, sensors, alarms, and such. So regarding the funds, this is really the approach that we take, the layered approach, various security controls, various mechanisms throughout the customer, you could say, journey and ecosystem to protect the funds. So it really starts from the outside, understanding what hackers are looking for, which types of attacks and fraud techniques they're using in order to eliminate the threats outside of the gate. So that's really, first of all, let's stop them before the gate. Then when we go inside, really the funds are protected with various cryptographic protocols, various techniques that keep the funds, keep the keys at the end of the day, the crypto keys, in a secure way and also in a distributed way. One of the topics that we'll talk about here, the protocol, the security protocols, MPC, multi-party computation, that we use, that essentially splits the keys into various regions. And by splitting the keys into various regions, the hacker needs to be in these 3 regions simultaneously. And that's, of course, hard. So we're splitting, you could say, the eggs between the baskets, and that helps us eliminate as much as possible, hacking of the systems, hacking of the keys, and protecting the funds, of course.
Thank you for that. So I'm spotting another Mashinsky mouse in the background. So I guess following on from that, what other proactive measures are you guys taking in terms of security at Celsius?
Yeah, so we'll start with another analogy. Let's take the movie 300 or Games of Thrones. Yeah, we have the camp, and the camp essentially is Celsius, our clients' funds. And really, the first thing that we do is send the messengers, send the spy outside of the gate, to see what the hackers are doing. They have flamethrowers, they have spears, they have javelins. What kind of attacks?
It's okay, I'll send them back.
What kind of attacks are they using? MOs, modus operandi, as we call them. And in that proactive way, we really deal with the threats that are relevant. We understand what hackers from various regions, what techniques they're using, and then we deploy the relevant security controls to deal with these threats. So it's or proactive, or others call it preemptive and predictive, if we'll use various terms. So understanding the trends, understanding the attacks, and then defending proactively against these attacks.
Yeah, I think it's important to mention that security is kind of like a game of chess. You know, we never ever underestimate the threats, the people who are trying to threat us, and we're trying to stay 2 steps ahead. So we learn a lot. We review what's going on in our industry, in other industries. If we see a spike in activity, we immediately alert our staff. So we're always security conscious. We realize we're managing our users' funds, and we want to keep them safe. So that's always on our mind, always thinking what's next, what can we do better, what can we improve, what can we add, new systems, keeping up with new technologies. Shiran is very much involved with the cybersecurity community in Israel and around the world, and you know, trying to stay ahead of any threat.
Yeah, and you know, even though Bitcoin is only 11 years old, the cryptography is something that is hundreds of years old. For some of you who don't know, like if you watched a movie about Sherlock Holmes 200 years ago, breaking a code that was written between 2 parties, or World War II, where there was the Enigma, right, where the Brits and the United States broke the code. That's all cryptography, right? So cryptography, we know exactly what is safe and what is not safe, and you have to think of these as layers. So cryptography is like the bedrock, and on top of that we have the Bitcoin protocol. The Bitcoin protocol in 11 years has never been broken. The bounty is over $200 billion. So believe me, every hacker in the world has tried his teeth on the Bitcoin protocol, right? It has never been broken, right? And on top of that, you have things like multi-signature. So for example, me, Nuke, and Shiran have to sign something electronically, right? Through cryptography, sign it to make sure that it's okay, it's validated, and then the coins can leave this or that wallet. And on top of that, we're putting MPC, and Nuke and Shiran will get into that as well. But all of these layers, some people just only use 1 layer or 2 layers, right? We are trying to layer this as much as possible to make it almost like impossible for a hacker to come in. And you have to remember that what hackers do is they go to the place that the easiest to penetrate, right? They're not going to work 10 times harder on Celsius if somebody else left the door open. No pun intended here. But the point is that Celsius is putting everything possible. We do both the internal tests as well as external tests, pen test, as Shiran said before. And all these things together, even though we think we have all the answers, we use outside experts as well to make sure that we didn't leave a window or door or a basement open. So next question.
Shiran, if you'd be able to go through some examples for me. I've heard the terminology, a tabletop exercise. Could you elaborate on that for the community?
Yeah, so continuing what Nuke said about playing chess, that's exactly what we did last week through Zoom, through Google Meets. We did a tabletop simulation in which we talked about various scenarios, what kinds of attacks are out there, and we challenged each other with a question, with some kind of challenge, and then we saw the response, meaning let's see how we deal with phishing attacks. Let's see if we're hacked in one way or another. Do we have the policies and procedures in place to deal with that? So a tabletop exercise, you could say, is a simulation, a game in which we train ourselves and we verify that all our policies and procedures are in place, that we have the relevant controls to deal with the various threats. And at the end of the day, just training our muscles and our security controls better, so we're ready when there is an incident of various types. Yeah. And really, one of the goals is to prevent as much as possible. We want to prevent attacks, we want to prevent anomalies, we want to prevent fraud. We don't want to start running after incidents. So our goal is really to prevent as much as possible and also amp up our detection so we can detect as much as possible. And just to follow up again regarding the people and personnel, this is very important also from the tabletop exercise, like Alex said, and Nuke. We have a team of security experts and fraud analysts and compliance and such from various backgrounds and also globally. So they see the various attacks, the various fraud mechanisms and such from different angles. Like Alex said, offensive security, defensive security, banking and finance fraud and such. So the team really is the important piece here, seeing the ecosystem from various angles. And that's really the way to protect as much as possible. A good team that understands various hacker mindsets, yeah, and various attack themes, yeah. So that's key.
And part of this, just to add to it, part of it is also testing the people, right? Because even you can put all the procedures you want on a piece of paper, but as we've seen with some other companies, one weak link, right? One person who's not following the procedure, who fell for a phishing exercise or whatever, causes the whole organization to fail. So what we do is we test the people all the time, and they don't know it's an internal test. They just see a request, and in this case, we sent many bogus requests that looked as authentic as possible, and see if the people fall for it, and then make sure that we train them properly if they do. And I can tell you, our organization passed with flying colors, but that doesn't make us feel comfortable. We have to do that basically every month to make sure that everybody's up to the latest and greatest, security and so on. Next question. Unless Nuke, you want to add anything to that? Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, it's security has many aspects to it, and it's always what we're worried about is what we didn't think of yet. So it's like a constant game of innovation. Innovation is not just technology. Innovation is it can be in security as well. And we saw what happened in something like the BZX. It wasn't a hack, it was an exploit. Guys can be so clever out there. For those who don't know, it's a smart contract. It was like 10 dominoes in a line, and you push one domino, and at the end of the day, a hacker got millions of dollars out of a smart contract. Very clever stuff. And we have some clever people in our midst in Celsius that can think ahead of that and always play that game. And we're doing great job. I think security is always the first thing we wake up with and the last thing we go to sleep with.
So following on from that, Nuke, would you be able to elaborate in any way on how the crypto community sets bad practices for itself? Like you can always hear the "not my keys, not your crypto," and how that sort of actually works against the community.
So, 60%, I think, of all Bitcoin wallets were not touched in what, 6 months, a year, and we don't know for sure, but we can imagine that a lot of these keys were lost, disappeared. So even if you have your own coin, your own keys, sorry about the noise. If you have your keys, that doesn't mean you're safe. You can hit your head on something, and the funds are gone. So every aspect of our community, the crypto community, has weaknesses and strengths. DeFi, as we all love DeFi. I love the DeFi. I think it's early on, but it's still like Windows 95. There's a lot of problems, and it's not even fully decentralized. It's like a secret that everybody knows. So the only thing that actually is decentralized is Bitcoin and maybe Ethereum, and they were never hacked. There was no security event that caused Bitcoin to crash, lose funds, have a malicious attacker steal funds out of the blockchain, out of the Bitcoin blockchain. So aside from paying 10,000 Bitcoins for 2 pizzas, no funds were lost. So.
Yeah, pizza day.
Happy pizza day,
Happy
everyone.
pizza day. So anyway, my point is fun. There's threats everywhere. In all kinds, shapes, or forms, and all we can do is know our system, the Celsius system that we built from 0 to 3 years ago or so, and make sure that this is the safest environment for our users and customers. And I think by now, those who followed me and listened to me know that this is something that is top priority for me, my team, and the whole Celsius staff.
Yeah, and just to add to that, look, the not your keys, not your Bitcoin works great for the early adopters, right? Who are tech savvy, who are geeks. Like, yeah, me, Nuke, and Shiran probably can manage our keys, but 99% of the population can't. So are we going to keep this amazing thing called Bitcoin and the blockchain and decentralization only to the people who are crypto savvy or who are tech geeks? The whole point is to open it to the entire world. Like the equivalent is, like all of our computers use either 128 or 256 key encryption. It's like saying, I'm not going to test my computer. I'm not going to rely on my computer or trust it. I'm just going to take that key. I'm going to write it myself every time. I'm going to put it on a piece of paper, and I'm going to put all the keys in every time I want to send a credit card transaction or go into a secure website or anything like that. So look, the internet went through all of this, right? In the beginning, that's exactly how it was. Before we invented all these technologies, right? We used to use these stupid manual processes, but we realized that if you want to bring 7 billion people to the internet, you can't do that, right? And the same thing here. We are at a cross in the road. There is a big chunk of the community that still says, not my keys, not my Bitcoin, and it's fine. Celsius was not created to help those guys, right? Celsius is saying, hey, you know how to manage keys? Excellent. We're here to help 7 billion people who don't. Next question.
Thank you. I suppose you answered my next question, which was Alex is always mentioning how we have one foot in the centralized world and one in the decentralized world. And how is that really helping us with security?
Yeah. Let me first of all give my spiel about decentralized. So when I think about decentralized, I think about can people with the windbreakers, sunglasses, and an earpiece break into some place and shut it down? If so, then it's centralized. We know what happened with IOTA, and if it can be shut down, it's centralized. So DeFi, in its current phase, I mean, it's obviously evolving and will get better at that, but still has points where you can shut it down. Either it's a hacker, like what happened to Bancor, for example, or it could be a malfunction, or it could be the government. You know, hey, you're hosting tokens from Korea and Iran. We're shutting you down. We don't care if Andreessen Horowitz invested in you, right? So, so decentralized is still evolving, and I'm a big fan of relatively new cryptography called MPC, multi-party computation, which is a cryptographic layer on top of the blockchain, and we're using that. So again, you know, we're looking into, we're researching. It's a known fact about Celsius. We keep researching in decentralized way. I don't think that Celsius in its entirety, it's a very complex organization, and the machine can be decentralized, but I think pieces of it can be decentralized, can be open and transparent and so on, while other pieces have to be centralized. You know, when you deal with the, compliance, and, if you want to work in the US, you probably need to have a piece that is centralized. Doesn't matter if you call yourself DeFi or not. So at the end of the day, we're working toward that. We're, early days. I think 10 years from now, 5 years from now, we'll have new systems. I was just yesterday listening to about the Avalanche, for example. There's new technology coming in that are very interesting, and we're trying to keep in touch. But in the sense of security, I think that we have to understand what, put aside the buzzwords, understand what we are, what we do, where we can improve, and how we can fortify that that castle that we built.
Yeah, and not I agree with everything Nuk said, and just to add to that, not everybody with a blockchain or a multi-sig is automatically decentralized finance, right? So if you watch the movie Wall Street, I'm gonna stop saying the truth about them if they stop saying lies about us. So, Shiran, any comments on this?
Yeah, currently Celsius is very transparent with all the activities and transactions and the balance sheet and stuff that we have, and a lot of it is public. And with cryptography, like you said, Alex, there are various security protocols like a zero knowledge proofs and stuff like that we're working on that could give more and more transparency, and also end-to-end open audit, end-to-end verifiability. So a lot of our actions could be audited by the community, and really this box will be much more transparent in addition to the transparency that we provide today. So zero knowledge proofs, end-to-end verifiabilities are concepts that are key to us, key to the community, and will deliver.
Right, and oracles and things like that, obviously. All these things that are critical to make sure that your data sources and your process are all decentralized end-to-end. Because like Nuk said, right, you can have 90% decentralized, and then you have one piece that is centralized and that controls that makes the entire process decentralized and not decentralized, right? Next question.
So I've got to ask, on behalf of the community, HODL mode, can you explain the inspiration behind it, some of the features about it? Just, if you know nothing, what is HODL mode?
Yeah, I'll start if you don't mind. So this is one of the things I'm proud to say was an idea that came from the community, from the Celsius community. And basically they asked us, look, if I go on vacation for a month and I don't want my cat or my girlfriend to access my wallet and move stuff, is there a way for me to lock it behind the scene? I said, look, there's no tech that we can do it right now. And we decided that that's actually a great idea for a feature. And what it is, just to explain, is that if you go into HODL mode, you get this private key or token that unless you use that token to unlock HODL mode, you cannot withdraw, you cannot self-pay, you cannot move any funds outside of your account. So you can go on vacation, you can go, I don't know, to some to do whatever you want to do, and or just HODL, you know, which is, as the name implies, if I want to put a Bitcoin for my kids' college, and you know, my kid is almost 13, you know, it's 5 years. I don't want to touch that Bitcoin. I believe that will cover his, you know, MIT tuition, and I'll just HODL. I'll put my key safe, and that's it. So great feature. I love it. I hope the community does.
Thank you. Shiran, anything further to elaborate on that?
No, nothing to add on that. That was perfect.
I do have a question that just came through from Kevin, and he says, I know it's early in the development of the app, but are there any plans to add a key, a YubiKey, rather than using Authy?
Yeah, so that's a perfect question, also related to recent events that we see and recent trends and attacks on two-factor or multi-factor authentication. So at Celsius, bottom line, for our internal access and also for our clients' access, we work with multi-factor, two-factor authentication that's based on Google Authenticator or Authy, one-time passwords that rotate. That's more secure than SMS. We don't use SMS as a two-factor authentication, and we saw from recent attacks and such and events that SMS can be hacked by SIM hijacking, SIM porting attacks and such. And in the past years, SMS has also been deprecated from the banking systems and such. So we're in the forefront, you could say, of the multi-factor and two-factor authentication. So from Google Auth and one-time passwords, you move to a physical form of authentication, as Kevin asked, the YubiKey and other physical tokens. So that's something that we start to implement inside our systems, access to critical assets with a physical factor, not a virtual factor that can be hacked, can be copied, cloned, and such. So the physical aspect is important. And we're also working on adding the physical token and YubiKey-like physical devices to the mobile app and also to our other clients, institutional clients and stuff like that. So the physical form, the hardware form of multi-factor authentication is key in this industry and in any industry that deals with money. And this is really via our internal use, protects our clients, and also will give our clients access to such devices so they can protect their site, their email, the mobile app, the access to the mobile app much better. So that's an important point.
Yeah, one thing to add, I know that people watch these AMAs, they love the inside stories of, you know, of inside the factory. So when we added 2FA to our app, that was, I think, about a year ago, when I got the first version from my team, it had an SMS. There was like 3 ways. There was password or PIN, authenticator, and SMS. And I told them, I'm not releasing this until you throw this SMS away, because that's just anti-security feature. And but, you know, back then, like it is today, there's a lot of SIM swaps and all that stuff. And you know, so we removed that feature really quickly. Regarding the YubiKey, you know, Shiran has sent a plan already for the team to implement the YubiKeys and other physical forms. So I think we can safely say this is in our roadmap.
Thank you so much. So the follow-up question is from Lubomir, and is Celsius planning on adding Touch ID to the app, or is that a security issue?
So we're in the midst of now developing the biometric authentication, secure biometric authentication for iOS and Android. So that's something that we're working on and is relevant for the app, relevant to increase security. And that's really also a factor form of multi-factor authentication, something hard to mimic or clone biometrics, of course. So biometric authentication, we're adding to the app, and it'll ease the authentication, it'll ease the ongoing, you want to view the balance quickly, stuff like that. So that's a security piece that we're adding.
Yeah, I believe this is one of the things we're going to add to the next big release, which is, I would say, late June, maybe early July. So look for it.
Be an exciting development. So I've got a question here from Jeff. I actually like the terminology. I hear SIM attacks are gnarly. Can a hacker get into my Celsius account if I'm one of the unlucky ones? So do users need to worry about SIM swaps?
I don't think SIM swap will do anything for your Celsius app. We don't use SMS authentication at all. So
Yeah.
the answer is no. There's nothing to do with it.
I'm sure the community will be relieved to hear that. So we've got another question from Dave here, and he goes, can you go into detail what the layers are? What is 256 encryption, and where are the funds stored? Is it cold storage?
I'll let Shiran answer that one.
Yeah, so I'll start with the cryptography. In encryption, there are two forms of cryptography: symmetric and asymmetric encryption. Symmetric encryption, which is much faster. He's eating pizza over there. In the meantime, symmetric encryption uses smaller keys, 256, and asymmetric encryption uses larger keys, 2048 and 4096 and such. So we use both methods throughout the application, from the client side mobile app to the backend. We mix these types of encryption methods in the optimal way. So some operations are quick, some operations are slower with asymmetric encryption, what we call public key encryption. So we mix and we use the latest and tested algorithms, cryptography algorithms. If it's the newest forms of AES 256 or RSA 2048, and also newer ones which are used in the MPC, in the MPC protocols, which are based on elliptic curves for encryption and also for digital signing. And elliptic curve cryptography is relevant to this space because it's really quick. You want to do the transactions, you want to do the signing globally through 3 approvers that now approve the transaction. So elliptic curve cryptography is relevant and also something that we use. And that uses even, you could say, different size keys, not 256, not 2048. It uses other types of keys.
I think it falls under the category of be careful what you ask.
Yeah, just to add to that, so some of our competitors talk about cold storage and how wonderful that is, and they have 100, 200. So I heard somebody now saying $240 million of insurance on cold storage. Just remember, if your coins are in cold storage, they're not earning anything. So anyone who tells you, I got all your coins in cold storage and I'm paying you whatever, 6, 8, 10%, that's an oxymoron. You either lend the coins and you're earning yield, right? Because everybody copied Celsius. It's like we invented the protocol, right? Rehypothecation of Bitcoin or Ethereum or any other asset. So you want to earn yield, you have to rehypothecate. If you're keeping it in cold storage, you're not rehypothecating. So how much insurance you have in cold storage directly contradict the idea that you are lending coins out and your risk is not in somebody stealing it from cold storage. The risk is that the person you lent it to is not going to return these coins, right? And then you have to understand that when you see a service that has an exchange and has 20 other services and a credit card and this and that, that tells you, like, if we have 100 people in Celsius working on something and they have 100 people working on 20 products, how much time are they really paying attention to security, right? So Celsius does exactly the same thing. The only 2 things we do, exactly the same things we've done in 2018 when we launched the service. We either take coins and pay interest, or we issue loans. We're not adding anything else, because even now, like Shiran keeps coming to me and saying, I need to hire a few more people just to handle all the issues that have to do with security. We still have items left on the checklist. So every day that other people are launching new things and people run to me, community members run to me and say, Alex, credit card, please look, these guys have a credit card and these guys have an exchange and these guys have whatever. All my answer is, great. If they have all these new things and they're trying to sell you new things, do you think they're really focused on security? Do you think they're really focused on being profitable from one service? Celsius is profitable just from coin lending. That's it. We don't even need the dollar lending business. Just coin lending makes it profitable. Why? Because We created this business, we're best at it in the world, and we do it better than anybody else, right? So we set the bar so high, not just by paying 80% of the community, but also by putting all of the security and everything else we just talked about, right? So next question.
Alex, would you be able to elaborate for us on how we make the money through the coin lending and just any of the security practices Celsius does with that?
So yeah, so security is not just, okay, are you using encryption and do you use a blockchain and things like that, right? A lot of the security has to do with the counterparties, right? So we have 260 institutions that we work with. I think that's more than anybody else. And part of security is also the diversification. Are you giving one entity 20, 30, 50% of your coins, right? So if you're a small operator, if you're a small version of Celsius, and one customer is 50% of your volume and they go out of business, what do you think happens? So I can tell you, Celsius does not have any coins with, no more than 5% of our coins are with any specific borrower, right? So if you look at the Bitcoin allocation, you're not going to see more than 5% of the coins with anybody. And that's part of security, because security has to do with all aspects of your business, right? The risk that your counterparty is going to go out of business, the risk that they will get hacked, right? The risk of, okay, what are their practices, right? So Celsius does not lend without collateral. Celsius does not lend to institutions that we feel are risky institutions. Like there are some people who copied Celsius who lend only to Chinese miners. Okay, go try to collect from a Chinese miner if they decide not to pay, right? Their income just went down by half, and you just lend them all this money to help them with their business, right? These are risks that Celsius does not take at all, right? We're not interested in anything like that. So we have enough business with the tier 1 institutions, the people who are registered, who are licensed, who have themselves passed these audit tests that we passed, right? And we know we can rely on them to deliver and entrust the assets of our customers. Anything to add from the other guys?
Yeah, just one comment is that I know a lot of people read that we use Fireblocks and MPC. What they don't know is that before we moved the users' deposits and withdrawals element to MPC, we actually moved our institutional lending operation into the Fireblocks MPC. And the reason we done that is we felt it's more modern, it's more secure, it's more safe, but in terms not only about the elliptic cryptography and all that cool stuff Sharon talked about, but also in terms of the people who operates it, the people in our staff and on the counterparty staff that interact with each other and move funds around. And we found that there are new modern dashboards and portals that we can use using MPC that are much safer and more accurate and easier to manage. So that started even before we moved all the other the customers' interaction with MPC into our system.
Sure, thank you. So following on, sorry, getting a little bit of echo there. The question from Stephen, he says, does or has Celsius IT infrastructure ever been audited? He gives the example of an SOC type 1, 2, or 3. Sharon, would you mind answering that for us, please?
Yeah, we conduct various audits, ongoing audits, various standards that deal with security for financial institutions, for banking related activities and stuff like that. So we do ongoing audits of various types. Regarding certification, we're in the process of doing various conducting and also certifying for various standards. So we do the audits, like we mentioned, by external parties. Yeah, they audit us all the time for the various domains within the company: HR security, IT security, physical security, and stuff like that. And we're also doing various certifications. So we have the stamp, for the various external, internal, and various audits. So these are things that we do ongoing and looking into the various certifications. specifically our vendors, Fireblocks, and others have SOC 2, for example. So that's again part of the package. Yeah, you get the certifications that our vendors are using in addition to the insurance that was mentioned and stuff. So we're in the process of having certifications. Our vendors have certifications, and audit is something that goes ongoing all the time, external, internal, and auditing our vendors, which is key because again, we're relying on them and working together, keeping funds and stuff with them. So yeah, an ongoing process that happens all the time.
And many of these hedge funds and institutions that deposit with us, because our deposit is not just retail, also many of these institutions do that. And they actually ask a lot of these questions and just like we ask them, they're like, okay, well, what are you doing, right? And we compare notes and many times, you know, things come out of it where, okay, we have to improve our best practices because here's a new procedure that we either didn't know about, or there's a new version that we weren't all the way up to speed on. So definitely we're raising the bar all the time. And again, you have to remember that if our castle is the hardest one to break, the hackers just go somewhere else, right? And that's what you want to, you know, it's not enough to just be the safest place. You also have to make sure that no one can steal anything. But it definitely helps deter the hackers because they definitely look at all the layers you have, and then they decide, am I going to spend time on it or I'm not going to spend time on it? And I disclosed, I used to be a black hat. I used to be a hacker myself. I hacked the Israeli phone company, and you know, when I was 16, and I almost went to jail for that. So you know, it was definitely one of those forks in the road. I could have gotten, you know, I could have ended pretty badly. I just put those skills to a good use. So next question.
Yeah, Celsius community, get those questions in for next week. We'll find out about that. So I've got a question for you. What's, it just came through. What's the greatest threat to the security of Celsius in your minds? Alex, would you like to start, please?
Look, I think the biggest threat is really just us losing trust with the community. And that has to do with not just any kind of hack or any kind of, like, for example, an institution not paying us back, but also us just steering away from the principles of the company, right? And those things are things that are, you know, one way or another are on us. The responsibility is on us to deliver on the security side and to deliver on our promises to the community.
Sharon and Nuke, do you have anything
to
elaborate on that?
The mouse wants to say something?
After the mouse, once the mouse has said his
piece. The mouse is a question. Wait, the mouse is a question. You got to put this in your ear and tell people what you're saying, okay? Ow. Ow. So what's your question? Ow. No, what's the question? Not ow. And the camera is right here. They have to see you here.
Hey, good afternoon.
Yeah, just ask. This is the mouse, Jordan the mouse. Yes, what's your question? Is the blockchain made out of chain command blocks? For Minecraft. For Minecraft. Okay, I will. Do we have a Minecraft expert here?
I think it's made out of Legos. Yeah. I'm not sure though.
It's made out of Legos. That's Nuke's answer. No, so the blockchain is not made out of anything. The blockchain is just a block of cryptographically locked.
It's just a block made out of Bitcoin coin. My version is 9.
Okay, that's that. He doesn't want to hear the answer.
Unless it's Fortnite skins.
Exactly. Like, no, but it's a good point. You know, for most people, even if they read the description of the blockchain, they're not sure what that is. So maybe we need to simplify it and explain to people what is a blockchain. So just like if you think of an onion that has a core and there's all these layers, think of each block, instead of thinking of it as a linear thing, like where you just adding block to a chain, because when we think about a chain with a lot of links, we think of it actually as less safe, not more safe, right? Because there's so many links, any link break. So it's a bad analogy for actually what is the blockchain. But if you think of it as an onion, right? Then you think of it, okay, I have this little core, which is the first block, and all the treasure is kept over there. Let's say all the Bitcoins are kept over there, even though they're not, but I'm just trying to give you an analogy. And then each time I'm putting transactions, I'm putting another layer on the onion, and I'm making it safer and safer and safer. So the Bitcoin is the oldest chain, and because of it, it's the onion with the most layers, right? So what is kept inside this onion is the safest, right? And it's not a linear safety level, meaning the more time passes, the more blocks are being added, because the mining complexity on the mining is increasing with each halving and everything else that's happening. It's actually logarithmically more difficult to break the chain now. So it's, again, 1,000 times more difficult to break the Bitcoin chain than, for example, the newer chains that are just coming out, right? Because the Bitcoin chain has hundreds of thousands of more blocks than this new chain. So you have to think, if you're not a technology expert, right, and you don't understand what the blocks mean or what the chain means and so on, you have to think of it as something that is just, you know, it's just an onion, you know.
Yes.
So
Yeah, you know, we're still in the experimental phase, and I think Alex is right. I mean, Bitcoin, the fact that it's the oldest and most proof tested blockchain out there makes it a great store of value, right? Because people trust it now, and that's the biggest, trust is the biggest thing, as Alex said. But we're also keeping an eye on new technologies. I mean, you know, some of them don't work. Like, you know, if people may remember how Wimble Nimble was like the biggest thing in 6 months ago. And then somebody proved that it's not what it, you know, that the privacy there can be broken and it disappeared. And new stuff is coming. Ethereum 2 is coming out. Avalanche release sounds very interesting. So always new technologies, but the time test of Bitcoin make it still the king of the hill here in that sense.
So someone raised a point in the chat that oftentimes with security situations, it's an internal employee who causes the trouble. So the question is, what if an internal employee stole data and provided it to competitors or used it to take coins?
Well, I'll start, and I'm sure Shiran has a lot to say about that. So I think every security expert will tell you that inside job is #1 threat. You know, always. It doesn't matter if you're a bank or you're a DeFi guy or whatever. You know, inside job is the biggest risk. So my methodology until Shiran came into the organization was basically to explain to people that everything they do is recorded. So if they misbehave, if they get tempted, if they get blackmailed and they do something that they shouldn't, we know about it. I mean, it's like everything is recorded. There's like breadcrumbs on everything. So I think, you know, that aspect always, you know, same as a bank. You know, if there's a bank teller who will steal money, he knows there's cameras, he knows there's records. You know, that's why, you know, bank tellers don't sell or don't steal money every day, you know, and those who do get caught. So I think that's one aspect of it. Another one is not to give one person, you know, enough access to cause too much damage. And the third thing is, you know, maybe it's not the employee's fault. Maybe he was abused. Maybe his systems got hacked. To protect against that, we have 2FA on our back office. We have VPN. We have a lot of other elements that protect the system from an external malicious, I don't know, hacker that piggybacks on an employee or something like that. So maybe Shiran has more information on that.
Yeah, so insider threat, insider jobs are relevant, and we monitor and we have various security controls in place. Now, the movement of money, for example, let's take another example, analogy for movies with nuclear codes and the submarine movies, when you want to launch something. So here at Celsius, to move money above a specific amount, you need 2 people, 3 people to sign on that. Yeah, like in the movies. Yeah, no one person has the nuclear launch codes. So moving of a lot of money, stealing money, like Nuke said, there's a segregation of duty, you call it in professional terms. So that's something that we have in place. So a lot of things, the keys to the kingdom or the castle aren't in one place. Alex doesn't have the keys. Nuke doesn't have the keys. I don't have the keys. It's split between various people. And that's relevant to all our lines of business, traders, support, the mobile app piece. So that's in place, and that's super relevant to deal with insider threat.
And I want to address one more thing, please. So the question itself was about data, so privacy information. And obviously, when you go into marketing or send emails to the community, there's always the risk of handling information such as email address and name and so on. And what we do for that is, first of all, we avoid our system creating any files that have specifically that data in them. In the case that once in a while we do need that list, we mark those files heavily, we encrypt them, we send them over encrypted systems, and we know exactly who handles those files and instruct them and kind of highlight that this file contains sensitive information and should be destroyed after handled. So that's another thing we do. We handle privacy very, very carefully. All the KYC is done by a third party who is specially licensed to do that. Or I don't know if it's licensed or whatever, but it's a company that does KYC, and they handle it and monitored by European Union and so on. So we don't save any private information such as documents and stuff like that. Information like social security number is encrypted even in a database. So even if somebody looks at the, let's say marketing, some reason got social security numbers, they won't understand what they are. They're completely encrypted, and they don't have the keys. Only our system has the keys.
Yeah, I would just add to that if you want to steal money from Celsius, you currently can only withdraw money into one of the approved institutions. So you don't just need to break into Celsius and put a gun to Nuke's head and 2 other people that may have a signature. You also need to be able to do that on the other side, because when you move the coins, they will only move to a pre-approved whitelisted address that we confirmed with an institution that we trust that has at least the same level of security. So you need to be able to hack them as well, break into their organization, and then figure out how you're going to move those coins out of that organization. So what you've seen with a lot of the hacks, and a lot of, unfortunately, in our community, every few days you hear about an exchange or about a wallet or about somebody being hacked. And the problem is that most of those services don't have any of these restrictions, don't have any of the stuff we just spent an hour talking about, right? Because their business is to accept deposits from anyone and send it out to anybody, right? Especially the wallets that don't do KYC, that don't work with institutions, right? So our universe of who is a trusted party is a much smaller universe. And we make sure that we don't admit bad apples, neither on the customer side, like Nuke said, with KYC ML, right? And we reject customers all the time, both reject, and even the ones who managed to get through, sometimes we go to them and say, you know what, we decided you should not be part of the Celsius network, right? Because we found something on their background, or we decided that they're too much risk for the rest of them. You don't want a bad apple in the basket, right? And the same thing with institutions. It's not like we accept everybody who applies. Believe me, there's a lot of people that try to come and work with Celsius, and we just say, sorry, go work with those guys. We can't really work with you. And sometimes it's a PEP related issue, right? So it's a person that's connected politically, or it's something else. So security is not just technology. You can have the best technology in the world, and like you know, like we said, somebody presses the wrong button, and all your coins have been sent to some guy in Iran or some guy in North Korea. So, and you have the FBI or the CIA at your doors asking you questions. So we want to make sure that we keep the Celsius community safe. And to keep it safe, we have to be compliant, and we also have to protect it from bad apples. Celsius, I think, has done an exceptional job doing all those things. We had an interview with our chief compliance officer, Jeremy. If you haven't seen it, he spends a whole hour talking about the stuff. And it's all those pieces coming together. And that's why I'm saying, like, we only do two simple things. And we're working 7 days a week to get those two things done right, while most of our competitors are offering 10 different things. And I would be worried. If I were you with your coins, I would be worried giving it to people who are trying to do so many things. Just running an exchange, you need several hundred people. I think Coinbase is something like 2,000 people or more to run an exchange, right? So you want to be Celsius and Coinbase and whatever else, all those things, and you only have how many? 100 people? It's not going to work. So next question.
So Nuke, you mentioned KYC before. I've got a question that came through. Is Celsius open to using a digital ID solution if, say, another blockchain project makes it and it becomes successful?
Yeah, one of the biggest things we're always looking into and trying to improve on is the KYC. That's a big friction for people to onboard. And on the one hand, we want to do as much as we can, 110% to be compliant and make the regulators happy and make the various agencies happy. On the other hand, we don't want it to be so restrictive that nobody will join, right? So we're looking into that. We're looking into several solutions. Jeremy and I are scheduled a conference where we check all the technologies. Yeah, I know, before Corona. But to check all the latest technologies, we're actually talking with one Israeli company, for example, that is developing an AI-based solution that reads the palm of your hand and your facial, 3D facial recognition, and they're actually working with the same lawyers we work with to actually to make them kind of to give them the stamp of approval as a KYC approved solution. So when these kind of technologies come on board, we definitely look at them and we definitely want to incorporate them in our system. Pragmatically, in the next version, we're going to have some improvements to that in the sense of how we read the live camera feed into your app. Add some OCR capability. OCR is the character recognition. So when you put your ID, it will read the information from the ID automatically and so on. So we keep improving, we keep innovating and keeping eye on new technologies as they come.
Thank you for that. Yep. So the next question I've got is, so what if someone does gain access to my account? What sort of safeguards in there for you guys to verify that it is me and not a malicious attacker?
So I'll start. We have several protocols in our system that doesn't allow, if you hold a large amount of funds with us, then even if a hacker gain control and you see some transaction taking place, we can stop them as long as you notified us immediately. I mean, there were people, you know, if you got a hacker that kind of took over your digital life, your Google, your 2FA authenticators, I don't know how, but let's say they put a camera on your phone somehow and got your Google authenticator and all of that, and you find out about it and you give us a call or you send us an email, we immediately suspend your account and nobody can move any funds out of it.
The benefit of a little bit centralization, you know.
Exactly. So we do have that ability to suspend your account immediately, break the glass on it, and say, all right, hold on, let's see. And then you find out maybe it was the cat, or I don't know. But we can figure it out with you. But the key point here, if something suspicious happens to you, we're doing all we can to provide all the tools for you, for these things not to happen. But let's say in the unlikely case it did happen to you, the first thing you want to do is call us, you know, or send to app@celsius.network a message, hey, I got hacked, please suspend my account, and immediately it will be suspended.
And we had few people who fell for scams, or all kind of things that people just didn't pay attention to, and then they realized that they were scammed. And I can tell you, we have, I don't know of any case where somebody who reached out to us got their coins stolen or anything like that. So we have so many layers of protection. And that's why, like the HODL mode, the 24-hour delay. Sometimes if it's a large amount, we'll delay it for 48 hours just to make sure that everybody has enough. Multi-sig, all these different things that are here to protect you, because life, unfortunately, is not your keys, not your Bitcoin. Life has all of these situations, and we've seen like very famous people who lost all their coins under different circumstances, including Mr. Mellon, who went to Mexico and never came back, and $1 billion worth of crypto disappeared. So you unfortunately you don't want a situation where you are sitting on your keys, because just like if somebody hijacked or kidnapped Alex, they can't do anything, like Nook said, right? I don't have any keys. I have nothing to give them. Even if they hack my phone or open it or try to do anything, I don't even represent one signature. I'm not a signatory on any of these assets, right? Intentionally, because we don't want a high-profile person to be the guy pressing the button and moving all the money around. So I think it's a very important part of the design. And again, you're not going to find any of these things with our competitor. And look, Celsius was tested on March 12th, right? That was the day of the flash crash. And you can see what happened to our competitors. You can see on Twitter the agony, the pain of all of these community members, right? Crypto community members who were basically crying about how they got liquidated and how there are barely any coins left in their wallet, and how the rest of their coins were locked up and they couldn't move them, or they couldn't do the things that they wanted to do, right? Try to find anything like that about Celsius. Try to find anyone saying, oh my God, Celsius did not act in my best interest. Celsius didn't do what they promised. Celsius didn't protect me. Celsius didn't block the hackers, right? Try to find it. I mean, we have 100,000 users, right? So these are the things that when you put the thought into it, when you spend the time and you bring the best people in the world to work on this stuff, you get these exceptional results. And these are, it's not like we're bragging. We're doing this for the community, because you want to grow this community. You're going to have all these things. And the fact that everybody else is focused just on, oh, I'm going to sell them Bitcoin. Oh, I'm going to sell them a credit card. Or I'm going to give them more stuff that I can charge fees on, right? Do you see us adding anything like that into the wallet? So every person has to make their own decision. Do you believe that we're here to act in your best interest? Your interest meaning the community's interest? Those should be aligned. If there's a conflict there, then, somebody's not thinking right. But if we are growing the community, then all of our coins, I'm a big Bitcoin holder, all of our coins are going to be more valuable. It's a win-win-win, right? That's what this is all about.
Just to finish that with I want to be very clear, like a public service announcement. The specific question you asked about hacking your account, we give you all the tools so this will not happen, including when you're in our app, you can go to settings and there's a security page that tells you how secure your account is. And we give you pointers on what you can do to improve, if it's a 2FA or strong password or stuff like that. So it is in the app. I mean, if anyone here is a Celsius user and doesn't know it, it's under the profile settings. You can see it's a security element. So please, 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 if you're concerned about that, make sure you have a good security score and you activate all these tools, and you can avoid 99.9% of all these incidents.
So a quick point also, just to complement that, in addition to all those features, also a lot of automation regarding anomaly detection in the login and the sign-up process is implemented. So if IPs jump from various countries, various states, will block these automated hacking attempts and stuff like that. So a lot of account takeover, prevention are in place, all these methods to detect suspicious activity while logging in, while trying to move money, while pressing too many buttons within the app. So we look out for bots, for anomalous behavior, for hackers that from a different country are suddenly potentially in your app or similar, if they got into your email, for example. So a lot of automation goes into the login process.
Thank you, gentlemen, ever so much. I'm sure our community is feeling much more relieved. So thank you ever so much for your time. Alex, would you like to continue doing a few more of the Q&As, or how are you feeling?
Yeah, let's do that. I wanted to, so Nook, thanks for your time. Nook is a co-founder of Celsius with Daniel Leon. So, you know, it's like he said, has been with us since the beginning, and a pillar of this, everything you get, this guy builds it, right? I don't build it, I just talk a lot, right? And,
all right. My pizza is getting cold, so.
He has a lot of people, a big team. The biggest team in Celsius reports to Nook. So we have more people working for him than I think all the other people put together. And I want to thank him for making sure we have not got hacked. We have not lost any information. And a lot of it has to do with Nook and his efforts. So if there's anyone to thank, it's not me, it's him. Right, so keep that in mind.
Now I need to thank Shiran for making me add a couple of hours of sleep every night, because I sleep better when he's around. So
because he doesn't sleep, that's why.
He doesn't sleep. Yes.
Around the clock, when I message him, he responds. I don't know how he does.
Yeah, that's
he must have a really fancy bot that knows all the answers. That's what it is.
Probably.
So I just want to thank really all the people at the company that deal with security and privacy. Yeah. So shout out to them, and also to the lending team, because they asked nicely, and
yes,
I'll get some sell in for that shout
That's
out.
right. All right, guys, thanks for joining. And I'm going to continue just talking. I wanted to share with you guys also just the latest news. So what we're seeing more and more in the community is this migration from more like the small miners, small holders, to more and more institutions who are coming in not just for trading but also for hodling, like Paul Tudor Jones and others, who you can see that they are, even if they're not buying the asset directly and not holding the keys, when you buy something in the futures market or anywhere else, that translates into more demand in the real world. So all these things are very positive things. You can also see institutional companies like Layer One and SoftBank coming into the mining business in a big way, all right, spending tens of or hundreds of millions of dollars to build mining operations. And that tells you that very smart people with a long-term perspective are investing in this industry, or seeing this industry as something that is worth investing in. Obviously, right now, with all the distress, there's plenty of places to invest, right? So the fact that these people continue to invest in this industry tells you that the investment here is as important or more important than investing in a distressed airline or a distressed hotel that you can get at half the price or less, right? So if you need validation, you get it every day from some of the smartest people in the world. We are seeing Bitcoin priced, again, trying like, unfortunately I was right. I did not want to be right. I wanted it to slice through 10,000 and have everybody tell me, oh, Alex, you see, you don't know what you're talking about. right? But it did not. It kissed 10,000, I think 3 times, and it keeps retreating. And what it tells you is it's a psychological barrier, right? There's nothing. $10,000 a Bitcoin doesn't mean anything. A Bitcoin is still Bitcoin, right? It hasn't changed. It's the dollar that is moving up and down, right? So what we're seeing is a lot of uncertainty in the mining community. Again, the small hodlers, the people who are speculators or buying and selling or trying to time the market. And you can see that massive selling into, as it gets closer to 10,000, the volume pops. And we need to grind through that. We need to flush through all these guys and establish higher bases. 12,000, 14,000 are going to be 2 more resistance levels. So we're not going to hit new highs until we break through those, right? 10, 12, 14. And I see that happening more towards August for a variety of reasons. Too long of a story to tell. But again, I hope to be wrong. I predicted the new highs this year, so I'm kind of saying things against my own predictions here. But it's a great time to hodl. It's a great time to accumulate. So as we tell you, again, this is not financial advice. This is what I'm doing once a month. I try to buy Bitcoin. I try to average my position. Sometimes I buy it more than once a month, right? Based on if there's a flash crash or something else. And basically with that, you're building a broader base with a lower price level, and that helps you as the price of the asset goes up. Other news, again, today's pizza day, right? What does it mean? For those of you who don't know, there was a guy who's now famous who basically spent 10,000, I think it was 10,000 Bitcoins to buy a single pie of pizza because he didn't think that there was ever going to be any use for the Bitcoin. He said, oh, I accumulated all these coins, I mined them, let me just buy a pizza. And he posted on eBay or something else, who's willing to barter a pizza for 10,000 Bitcoin? And the analogy there, we celebrate it every year for a reason, right? It's why are we thinking about that even, right? It's just a funny story about somebody who obviously lost a lot of money. Now it's worth, I think close to $1 billion. So the reason that we're reminding ourselves about this is that anyone who used their Bitcoin through a credit card or through an exchange or to buy something or to pay for something or secure something has regretted that, right? Because the Bitcoin is the scarce asset. The dollars are not. The Fed just printed close to $5 trillion in a month. They printed more in a month than they did in 100 years. So if that doesn't tell you how scarce Bitcoins are, then you should not use them. You should not spend them on your credit card. You should not exchange them for anything else. All these sites that help you spend your Bitcoins or Ether or whatever it is are things that are not acting in your best interest. And that's one of the main reasons why Celsius does not add these functions into the wallet. Our job is to help you hodl more, not give you temptation. So when you need cash, quick cash, you're going to go and sell your Bitcoin. And that's why the only thing we allow you to do is to borrow against it and not more than 50%, because we don't want you to get yourself in trouble. So we have come up with the best offer we've ever had since Celsius was created. 1% interest, right? You can take a loan against your assets at 1% per year, okay? Even the US government no longer offers, through the PPP and other plans, this kind of an offer, right? The only way you can get a PPP equivalent loan is with Celsius, right? And it's a 25% LTV. What does it mean, 25%? It means if you have $4,000 worth of Bitcoin, you can borrow 1,000, and there's a very, very small chance, almost a zero chance, that Bitcoin will crash so much that you will have to add more assets, or you will have to, you'll have a margin call against that asset, right? So 25% LTV is the safest of all the products we are offering, all the lending products that we're offering. So it's very important that you understand that you're getting an exceptional deal, 1% per year, and it's probably the safest way to borrow, right? Because the LTV is so low. It's protecting you, right? It's helping you. Even if Bitcoin drops 50%, you're never going to lose your coins, right? So these are the things that you have to think about. Also, we have a competition going on. We're trying to come up with a theme song for the Celsius, for all of our videos and the things that we're doing. And we're voting on it. There's already many submissions, but the window is still open. And I think there's even a prize, right? I think I heard there was a prize for the winner.
We do
pizza?
have a prize. With Gambi pizza if you want.
Right. And so this is the, I think we call it the Moip music contest. And if you haven't seen it, go on our Twitter or Telegram, you'll see all of the details and links to how to participate. And, you know, again, we passed 100,000 users. That's a monumental event. We're almost at 1 billion in deposits since the launch of the service. We're at like 984 million last time I looked. So we are really, really close to crossing 1 billion in deposits, which again would be more than most of the other guys put together. And this just shows you the trust and the service that we provide to the community. And I get emails every day. I get emails and messages from all of you thanking me, but there's nothing for me to thank. You have to thank yourself. You have to thank the other members in the community who got together and through thick and thin, through storms and beautiful weather, stuck around to build this thing up, right? I mean, we're not the ones building it, right? We are accumulating a lot of assets. We're lending them out. We're charging as much as we can. We're charging the hedge funds as much as we can on your behalf, right? We're here to represent your best interest. And that is the stuff that makes all the difference. So I want to thank all of you instead of you thanking me. But people send me emails and messages and say, hey, you changed my life. You helped me understand finance. Now I know how to save. I see the light at the end of the tunnel, you know, from all over the world, from Portugal, from Australia, from you name a country, right? And some of them are with broken English, but it just, it brings tears to, you know, to my, in my heart, right? It touches my heart when I get these messages from you guys. So that's it for now. Let me make sure I covered all the topics here. And yeah, looks like we touched. Tom, any other questions?
No, so just to clarify, it's for your Moip show that we are running the competition to get the new soundtrack for.
Oh, right, the Moip show, yes. So we've done several very good interviews. If you want us to interview somebody in specific, again, let us know. If you want to introduce that person for some reason, if we can't reach out to them, introduce us. And I saw like some of you started pinging some of these guys on Twitter saying, hey, you should get on the Moip show and so on. So I appreciate that. We should definitely get that. I think enough of these pings will convince people to do it. And again, we added gold to the portfolio. It's a very important asset. I know we're all Bitcoiners, but gold is an important anchor of your financial stability, right? You need to have gold and Bitcoin. It's not one or another, right? You got to have both because you need several anchors to hold you in this really volatile times that are ahead of us, right? Looks like the stock market is back up. Everybody thinks everything is back to normal. I'm telling you, it is not, right? The storm hasn't even started yet, right? So make sure that you diversify. We give you all the tools in the wallet. You just need to have a little bit of everything, a little bit of stable coins, a little bit that earn you the high yield, a little bit of gold, a little bit of you know, crypto assets, and you got to put a little bit every month or whatever you can. Again, not financial advice. I'm just telling you what I'm doing and what is the best practice out there. And I want to thank you for joining us, and we'll be here next week. Any suggestions for topics or things we should cover, send it to us. Again, alex@mashinsky.com, my last name. And I answer my own emails. So when you get an email from me, it's not a bot. It's not my assistant. You know, if you want to talk to me, you want to suggest something, you're not happy with anything, I'm always there. I want to hear from you guys. Don't be intimidated. Just send an email and I'll respond to you. Thank you very much.